Greetings, true believers. Well, our look at Phase 4 of the MCU now continues on with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Around 1,000 years ago, Zhou Wenwu discovered the mystical Ten Rings which grant godly powers, including immortality. He establishes the Ten Rings organization, conquering kingdoms and toppling governments throughout history. In 1996, Wenwu searches for Tao Lo, a village should harbor mythical beasts. He travels through a magical forest to the village entrance, but is stopped by a guardian, Ying Li. The two fall in love, and when the Talo villagers reject Wenwu, Li chooses to leave with him. They marry and have two children, Shang-Chi and Ling. Wenwu abandons his organization and locks away the Ten Rings. When Shang-Chi is 7 years old, Li is murdered by Wenwu's enemies, the Iron Gang. Wenwu dons the Ten Rings once again, massacres the Iron Gang, and resumes leadership of his organization. He makes Shang-Chi undergo brutal training in martial arts, but does not allow Ling to train with the others, prompting her to secretly teach herself. When Shang-Chi is 14, Wenwu sends him to assassinate the Iron Gang's leader. After completing his mission, a traumatized Shang-Chi runs away to San Francisco and adopts the name Sean. In the present day, Shang-Chi works as a parking valet with his best friend Katie, who does not know about his past. They are attacked in a bus by the Ten Rings organization, who steals a pendant Li gave to Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi travels to Macau to find his sister, fearing that the Ten Rings will go after her matching pendant. He reveals his past to Katie, who insists on helping him. They find Ling at a secret fight club, which she found out after escaping from Wenwu at 16. The Ten Rings attack the fight club, and Wenwu arrives to capture Shang-Chi, Katie, Ling, and her pendant. They are taken to the Ten Rings compound, where Wenwu uses the pendant to reveal a mystical map leading to Ta Lo. Wenwu explains that he has heard Li calling and believes she has been held captive in Ta Lo behind a sealed gate. He plans to destroy the village unless they release her. When his children and Katie object, he imprisons them. The three meet former actor Trevor Slattery, whom the Ten Rings imprisoned for impersonating Wenwu, and his Hundun companion Morris, who offers to guide them to Ta Lo. The group escapes and goes to Ta Lo, which exists in a separate dimension with various Chinese mythological creatures. They meet Ying Nan, Li's sister, who explains the history of Ta Lo. Thousands of years ago, the universe containing the village was attacked by the soul-consuming Dweller in Darkness and its soul eaters, but was saved by a Chinese dragon called the Great Protector, who helped seal the Dark Gate to the Dweller's world. According to Nan, the Dweller in Darkness has been impersonating Li so that Wenwu will use the Ten Rings to open the gate. Shang-Chi, Ling, Katie, Slattery, and Morris join the villagers in training and preparing for Wenwu's arrival, using outfits and weapons crafted from dragon scales. Wenwu and the Ten Rings arrive and attack. Wenwu overpowers Shang-Chi, pushes him into the nearby lake, and attacks the gate with the rings. This allows some of the Dweller's soul eaters to escape, and the Ten Rings join forces with the villagers to fight them. The Great Protector revives Shang-Chi and bears him from the lake to battle the soul eaters. Wenwu and Shang-Chi fight once more, and Shang-Chi gains the upper hand but chooses to spare Wenwu. The Dweller in Darkness escapes from the weakened gate and attacks Shang-Chi. Wenwu saves Shang-Chi, bequeathing him the rings before the Dweller in Darkness kills him. Shang-Chi, the Great Protector, Ling, and Katie slay the Dweller in Darkness. Afterward, Shang-Chi and Katie return to San Francisco, where the Sorcerer Wong summons them to Comertage. In a mid-credit scene, Wong introduces Shang-Chi and Katie to Bruce Banner and Carol Danvers while researching the ring's origin. They discover that the rings are acting as a beacon to something. In a post-credit scene, Ling becomes the new leader of the Ten Rings, training women alongside men, despite having told Shang-Chi that she would disband the organization. Oh my gosh, why did you do that? Well, anyway, so let's take a look at the production of this movie, beginning with the development. According to Margaret Loesch, the former president and CEO of Marvel Productions, Stanley discussed a potential film or television series based on the Marvel Comics character Shang-Chi with actor Brandon Lee and his mother Linda Lee during the 1980s, with the intention of having Brandon Lee star as the character. Brandon's father, martial arts legend Bruce Lee, was a visual inspiration for artist Paul Galassi when drawing Shang-Chi during his tenure on the Master Kung Fu comic book series in the 1970s. In 2001, Stephen Norrington signed a deal to direct a Shang-Chi film entitled The Hands of Shang-Chi. By 2003, the film was in development at DreamWorks Pictures with Yuan Wu Ping replacing Norrington as director and Bruce C. McKenna hired to write the screenplay. Ang Lee joined the project as a producer in 2004, but the film did not materialize after that point, and the rights to the character reverted to Marvel. In September 2005, Marvel Chairman CEO Avi Arad announced Shang-Chi as one of 10 properties being developed as films by the newly formed Marvel Studios, after the company received financing to produce the slate of 10 films which were to be distributed by Paramount Pictures. Shang-Chi was put on a list of characters that Marvel thought could make great films despite being relatively unknown, since he had a very Disney story in the comic books. The Ten Rings were featured in the first Marvel Cinematic Universe film Iron Man, without their leader, the Mandarin. Marvel Studios then planned to feature the Mandarin in a film that could do the character supreme justice and showcase his complexity, which Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige felt they could not do in the Iron Man films because those focus on Tony Stark / Iron Man. According to Chris Fenton, former president of the Chinese-based film production company DMG Entertainment that was in talks with Marvel Studios to co-produce their films, Marvel offered to create a teaser featuring either Shang-Chi or the Mandarin for the Chinese market that would be featured at the end of the Avengers. DMG balked at the offer, since the Mandarin's negative, stereotypical portrayal in the comics could potentially prevent the film from releasing in China and risk shutting down DMG as a company. The Mandarin would eventually appear in the DMG co-produced film Iron Man 3, portrayed by Ben Kingsley, but is revealed to be imposter Trevor Slattery posing as the Mandarin. Feige felt this fake Mandarin did not necessarily mean that a more faithful version of the character did not exist in the MCU. By December 2018, Marvel had fast-tracked development of a Shang-Chi film with the intent of making it the first film with an Asian lead. Marvel hired Chinese-American writer Dave Callaham to write the screenplay and began looking at Asian American filmmakers to potentially direct the film. The studio's scope was to explore Asian and Asian American themes presented by Asian American filmmakers, as in for African and African American culture with Black Panther earlier in 2018. Development of the film also came following the success of the film Crazy Rich Asians that was likewise released earlier in 2018. Excuse me. Led to several other Asian-led properties being developed by Hollywood studios. Callahan's script was expected to modernize elements of the character's comic book story, which was first read in the 1970s, to away what modern audiences would consider to be negative stereotypes. When Callahan began work on the script, he became emotional, realizing it was the first project where he was asked to write from my own experience, from my own perspective. Jessica Gao, who would later become head writer of the TV series She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and also presented a pitch for the film. Richard Newby of The Hollywood Reporter said the film could break out in a way similar to Black Panther by bringing a new perspective to the character. Newby felt Shang-Chi could have worked well as a television series, and said it speaks volumes that Marvel would decide to make a feature film about the character instead. Newby concluded the film was an opportunity to avoid stereotypes about Asian martial artists and be more than Marvel's Bruce Lee. Marvel Studios hired a Japanese-American filmmaker, Destin Daniel Cretton, to direct the film in March 2019. Deborah Chow, who previously directed episodes of Marvel Television's Iron Fist and Jessica Jones series, Justin Tipping and Alan Yang were also considered. Cretton admitted that he had previously not been interested in directing a superhero film, but was drawn to the project to help create a world and character that Asian children could look up to and see themselves in. Cretton's pitch for the film drew visual inspiration from Chinese, South Korean, Japanese, and other Asian cinema, including anime, title tone that showed the drama and the pain of life, and also showed the humor of life. In April, Marvel Studios and Australian Arts Minister Mitch Fifield announced that an upcoming Marvel film, believed to be Shang-Chi, will be filmed at Fox Studios Australia in Sydney and a location throughout the state of New South Wales. The production received AU 24 million, US 18 million, and one-off funding from the Australian government, as well as backing from the Australian 10 million, US 8 million, made in NSW state fund. The production was expected to generate under 50 million in Australian dollars and 113 million US dollars for Australian economy, as well as 4,700 new jobs, while taking advantage of around 1,200 local businesses. Don Harwin, the New South Wales Arts Minister, confirmed in July that this film was Shang-Chi and would be produced back-to-back in Marvel Studios' Thor: Love and Thunder. Production on Shang-Chi was said to be completed before work began on Love and Thunder later in 2020. And now on to the pre-production. In mid-July 2019, Marvel Studios began testing actors in their 20s for the role of Shang-Chi, including Louis Ten and Simu Liu. Ten previously portrayed Zhao Chen in Iron Fist. The duo was adamant that the actress be of Chinese descent to audition for the character. Liu was considered earlier in the audition process and was brought back in for a second audition when the creators were finding it difficult to cast the role. He tested again for the part on July 14th and was officially cast on July 16th. Awkwafina, who was the first actor cast for the film, had chemistry tests with the potential actors and said it was apparent that Liu was Shang-Chi from the jump. Liu and Awkwafina's castings were announced by critic and producer Feige at Marvel Studios' San Diego Comic-Con panel on July 20th, where the film's full title was announced to be Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Feige noted that the Ten Rings organization rolled throughout the MCU and said the Mandarin would be introduced in this film with Lieutenant Leung in the role. The Ten Rings logo was changed for the film, including Mongolian language in previous MCU appearances to having inoffensive Chinese characters that are synonyms for strength or power written in ancient sealed script. This was done following the logo's appearance in Iron Man 3, which drew ire from the Mongolian government, felt the Mongolian scripts offensively tied the country's intangible cultural heritage to a terrorist group. Though Oyun Gurel, I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong, said Devamba, Mongolia's former Minister of Culture, Sports and Tourism, believed the change was more to appease the Chinese market. Casey reprised his role as Slatter in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, the character's inclusion planned early in order to help fully explore the context of who the Mandarin is in the MCU. Producer Jonathan Schwartz calls Slatter a secret weapon whose introduction partway through the film moves it in a different direction and provides comic relief. Credits said in October that production would begin in early 2020. In December, Feige stated the film would feature a predominantly Asian cast. A month later, Michelle Yeoh was entered talks for a role in the film. This is for a different character than Alida Ogord, who Yeoh had previously portrayed in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Jessica Henwick, who previously portrayed Colleen Wing in Iron Fist, was offered by Disney to audition for the role of Shai Ling in the film, but was concurrently offered by Warner Brothers the role of Bugs in the Matrix Resurrections. After Disney and Warner gave her an ultimatum over which role to select with the condition of rejecting the other, Henwick chose the Resurrections part over Shang-Chi, in part because she wanted to reprise the role of Wing in a future MCU production. In addition to Callahan, Credit and Andrew Lanham also contributed to the screenplay for Shang-Chi Legend of Ten Rings, from a story by Callahan and Credit. The film was described as a sweeping superhero epic that combines emotional family drama with gravity-defying martial arts action. Schwartz said much of Shang-Chi's arc within Marvel Comics is a family drama, and Credit wanted to focus on that element for the film, exploring Shang-Chi's broken and abusive family background. Leo noted that the comic book backstory for Shang-Chi is not widely known like those for comic book characters such as Batman or Spider-Man, and that gave the film's writers freedom to take more creative liberties with the story. Credit and Callahan were cognizant of some of the racial stereotypes surrounding the character in the comics, Leo saying everyone involved was, quote, very sensitive to not have it go into stereotypical territory. Creighton believed the resulting script was a really beautiful update to the character from what began in the comics. Creighton felt the film told an authentic story about Asian identity. Callum said there is no single Asian American voice, and he and Creighton contemplated about how the film could speak to the wider Asian diaspora and would be generally entertaining but also personal to all these people. Cast members including Liu Leong and Meng'er Zhang contributed their own experiences coming from Canada, Hong Kong, and mainland China respectively to add to the authenticity of the film. Some aspects that were discussed regarding each scene were whether characters should be speaking Chinese Mandarin or English, and the type of food served in the different households to ensure it felt authentic to whose house it was. The film's opening begins with narration entirely Mandarin. When Nancy Wang Yuan, writing for IO9, said it was the right decision for an MCU film to begin in a language other than English and continue to do so for an extended period. Regarding the use of Mandarin in the film, critics said it was the choice of which language to use when was always rooted in just the logic of the characters and who would naturally be speaking what language. Shang, whose first language is Mandarin, served as a dialect coach for the other actors. Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings further deals with Asian language and some negative characterization around it by portraying his characters as having varied knowledge of Asian languages, as demonstrated by exchange with Katie and John when John says he speaks ABC, American-born Chinese, and Shang-Chi teaching Katie how to pronounce his name, which serves as a meta moment to also aid the audience on the proper pronunciation of Shang-Chi. Having Shang-Chi surrounded by many strong women formed out of the relationship between Shang-Chi and Wenwu, with them being supporting characters to him, also being on their own narrative arcs. Credden stated that having women who were kind of kicking his butt into gear throughout the movie just felt right. Credden's three sisters and his wife helped inspire Katie, Xiaoling, Yingnan, and Ying Li. Speaking to the relationship between Shang-Chi and Katie, Credden enjoyed being able to show a strong, deeply caring friendship that is rarely seen in superhero films, adding that it never felt right to have the two characters end up in a romantic relationship since it would have been forced. He requested a scene be added between her character Yingnan and Zhang Xiaoling that would empower Xiaoling to step out of the shadows for the first time. This scene became an important part of Xiaoling's journey in the film and was one of the many scenes that also addressed the sexism presented in the story. Grateful seeing Xiaoling become the new head of the Ten Rings organization in the film's post-credit scene was reflective of her beginning to take control of her life. Various versions of the scene existed throughout the production before it was moved to be after the credits, since they thought it would be a juicy idea for where the story might go in the future. Credden also noted that there was more material created regarding the Ten Rings that was purposely withheld to be explored in future projects. Now on to the filming. Principal photography began in February 2020, shooting at Fox Studios Australia in Sydney and on location throughout the state of New South Wales under the working title Steamboat. William Pope served as cinematographer for the film, working on the Arri Alexa LF. Credden chose Pope because he felt the cinematographer's style would be both naturalistic and heightened, and because of Pope's work on The Matrix, which Credden believed had the right tone for an MCU film focused on Asian and Asian American characters. Credden was inspired by Jackie Chan's filmography, the IP Man series, Tai Chi Master, and Kung Fu Hustle, among others in the martial arts and kung fu genres, as well as anime and video games. On March 12th, after studios had started halting production on films due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Credden decided to have himself tested for coronavirus after working closely with people who had potentially been exposed to it. This was a precaution due to Credden having a newborn baby, and he self-isolated while awaiting these results. The test later came back negative. While Credden was self-isolating, Marvel suspended first unit production for the film but intended for other aspects, such as second unit, to continue as normal. On March 13th, the rest of the film's production was paused as Disney halted filming on most of its projects. Before the shutdown, Ronnie Chiang joined the cast in an undisclosed role. In early April, Disney shifted much of their Phase 4 slate of films due to the pandemic, moving Shang-Chi's release date to May 7th, 2021. Work building sets for the film resumed at the end of July 2020, and by August 2nd, all cast and crew members had arrived to begin shooting in the coming days. Any cast and crew members returning to Australia from outside the country had to be quarantined for 2 weeks upon arrival before returning to work, according to Australia's guidelines. Later in August, Yeoh was confirmed to appear in the film. The next month, the film's release date was pushed back to July 9th, 2021, after Black Widow was shifted to the May 2021 release date. In October, filming took place in San Francisco, also under the working title Steamboat. Shooting locations included the Russian Hill, No Valley, and Nob Hill neighborhoods, as well as Fisherman's Wharf and Ghirardelli Square. Filming wrapped on October 24th, 2020. For the film's action scenes, Credden drew inspiration from a range of fighting styles due to Shang-Chi being trained in different types of martial arts. This included the elegant, almost ethereal wushu style from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and the kinetic fights of Jackie Chan's films. Supervising stunt coordinator Brad Allen, along with other members of the Jackie Chan stunt team, became responsible for making the different styles feel consistent, as well as containing elements of Hong Kong action cinema. Chinese choreographers were used to create wuxia-style fight scenes. Schwartz said there was a meaning for each fighting style in the film, and they helped to tell the story visually. The bus fight sequence was part of Cretton's pitch for the film, calling it a what-if scenario to help explain the fight sequences he enjoyed. Ones where the stakes just kept rising as the fight continues. Once it was planned for the film, Cretton credited Allen for bringing the Buster Keaton-like physical comedy to the fight, mixed with setups and payoffs, and stakes rising to almost ridiculous levels. Fight coordinator Andy Chang added that the bus fight took over a year to plan, going through as many as 20 different iterations, most of the differences pertaining to the fighting within the bus. The sequence was partially completed when the production shut down for COVID, requiring those involved to retune once production resumed to complete it. 2 buses were utilized on a 15 feet high gimbal for all the big moves, and another gimbal 3.3 feet high, with the windows and seats removed most of the time for safety. Chang added that figuring out how the bus would be sliced in half and choreographing a fight around it was the most difficult part. Although the exterior shots of the sequence were filmed in San Francisco, the bus interior scenes were shot in Sydney. The sequence was shot in 48 frames per second to help with tracking or adjustments, and converted back to 24 frames per second, while the shots in slow motion were shot at 250 frames per second using a phantom camera. The Kamehameha attack from the anime Dragon Ball Z was inspiration for the final fight between Shang-Chi and Wenwu, which Credit had also included in his pitch. And now on to the post-production. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is dedicated to supervising coordinator Brad Allen, who died in August 2021. Nate Sanders and Elizabeth Ronald Estotier, sorry if I mispronounced that, served as co-editors on the film alongside Harry Yoon. In December 2020, Marvel revealed roles for several cast members, including Awkwafina's Shang-Chi's friend Katie, Yo as Jiangnan, and Chiang as John. They also announced the casting of Meng'er Zhang as Jai Ling, Violet Chen as Jian Li, and Florian Montino as Razor Fist. Montino was cast after Marvel Studios was impressed with his role in Creed 2. In March 2021, the film's release was pushed back once again to September 3rd, 2021, when Black Widow was shifted to the July 2021 date, and Alice Leo was revealed to be appearing. The film's official trailer in June 2021 revealed that Benedict Wong was reprised his MCU role of Wong, along with the appearance of Abomination. The Abomination first appeared in The Incredible Hulk, portrayed by Tim Roth, with Roth providing uncredited vocals for the character Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Feige enjoyed returning to the Abomination after over a decade since his last MCU appearance, especially fans recognizing and embracing the reference. Credit added that, beyond being a pairing that felt really great, the Abomination and Wong were chosen because they made sense to what's happening in the MCU around the time of our movie, and linked it to future MCU projects. Both characters appear in She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and because of Gao creating a substantial storyline for Abomination in the series, he was added Shang-Chi as a way to seed him so that people can get excited but also remember him. Wong was thrilled to be a part of the film and its Asian cast, expressing excitement to be sat at a table of Asian excellence. The film's mid-credits scene, which features Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner and Brie Larson as Carol Danvers, was conceived late in the film's production by Cretton to address the origins of the Ten Rings. Callahan noted that there are many different origins created in the film for the Ten Rings, but was decided to leave the origins ambiguous to be addressed in more detail in a later MCU property. Callum said that this was an intentional choice after they realized it doesn't make any difference at all where it comes from in this film, and that's not the story we're telling. Cretton hoped the scene would feature Wong, as well as him going to karaoke with Shang-Chi and Katie to sing Hotel California, but was unsure which additional Avengers characters would appear until late in post-production. Banner and Danvers were chosen for the scene because they each represent the science and space aspects of the MCU, respectively, with their appearances also lining up accurately with other MCU events happening around the time of the scene. Additionally, Callahan believed Larson was added because she had previously worked with credit on Short Term 12, The Glass Castle, and Just Mercy. The creator reiterated that Danvers' appearance made sense for the scene. He jokingly acknowledged that this continued the streak of her appearing in his films, and that she enjoys including people that I love in the movies that I'm making. Ruffalo and Larson filmed their roles in early 2021 during the film's additional photography. Feige said the scene was meant to indicate how vital and important Shang-Chi was to the MCU, liking into Nick Fury's appearance in the post-credits scene of Iron Man. And now finally on to the visual effects. 16 visual effects vendors worked on the film, with up to 3 vendors on a given shot, creating over 2,000 shots, of which over 1,700 were in the final film. Visual effects supervisor Joe Farrell described the process like moving chess pieces around. 40 to 50 of the 168 shots in the bus fight sequence were mostly digital, with the entire environment requiring digital pieces including the bus, buildings, and people. Farrell stated the motion of the sequence made editing difficult, especially in regards to the 9 passengers. They were mapped out to know where they were at all times, and sometimes they were digitally moved around. Farrell, who had to remain in Sydney due to the COVID pandemic, planned the San Francisco shoot using Google Street View and hired crew members who worked on the Fast and Furious franchise to film the sequence. Because the fight sequence in Macau takes place on a scaffolding outside of a glass building, crews built an expensive 360-degree blue screen around the set in order to prevent the crew's reflection from appearing on film, with radio effects doing the rotoscoping work necessary for the sequence. Much of downtown Macau was created digitally, with Farrell remotely supervising the sequence from Sydney after having drone crews map out the area on Google Earth. Rising Sun Pictures contributed to over 300 VFX shots in the film and was primarily responsible for creating the digital environment for Ta Lo. Artists of the company created the geography of the forest, took inspiration from locations in Southeast Asia, and also integrated some practical elements from material shot in Sydney, which was later adjusted for proper lighting and post. Sets for Ta Lo were carefully designed in order to allow for the easier combination between practical and CG elements, such as adding in erosion to various trees and also adding more water and species of trees and other plants to the shots. The team also worked with the Australian Institute for Machine Learning in order to develop an advanced technique for facial replacement powered by artificial intelligence, which is used to replace stunt doubles' faces with the principal actors for the action scenes located in the area. The water map scene went through many iterations to determine how that information could be conveyed, with Credit feeling the use of water perfectly connected to the story of our characters and created a visually beautiful scene. The Hundun Morse was inspired by Credit's family dog, a 15-year-old dachshund. Images of Hunduns were included in early development as a potential inspiration for the film, and Credit wanted to feature one in the film in some way after seeing them. Morris was a green screen blob during filming, with Credit crediting Kingsley for helping to breathe life into him, making it feel as if Morris was a real character. Multiple different designs were tested for the character, including one that had him looking like a plucked chicken. The creatives wanted to show Morris remained cute, which was challenging since the character's eyes and face helped convey their emotion. As such, they relied on the look of his fur and feathers. Weta FX contributed to over 305 VFX shots in the film. The team found creating the CG rings easy, but they had difficulty in designing its movement, as the rings' movements were very character-specific. Shang-Chi used the rings defensively, while Wenwu used them in an aggressive manner. They also created the designs of the Great Protector and the Dweller in Darkness for the film, and helped create the action scenes between them featuring the water. The creatures were rendered using various tools, such as Houdini and Mantra, and animated using other tools such as the Maya and Loki puppets. Proxy versions of the character are created at first, and then the visualization for the chakras, different colors, and the human souls was added. Then, the team used real-time renderer Gazebo to assess the newly created model, which allows them to identify any potential problems early on. After this, the team inserted the hair of the dragons and the texture artists added shading to the dragons to give them material properties. Real-life materials, such as quartz, shells, lizard skin, and elephant hides, were used as references. In creating the water, the team used production line techniques, as they designated individuals in supervising certain parts of the water simulation, such as the water surface. The film's main unnamed title sequence was designed by perception and focused on the movement of water. Nice. So overall, I really do like this film, and I think it's visually stunning, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So yeah, and of course, I'm pretty sure we're going to get a second movie, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that eventually when it comes out. So yeah. So overall, I give Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings 4 Captain America shields out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in tomorrow as we take a look at the next film in the MCU Phase 4, Eternals. So until then, in the words of the late great Stan Lee, Excelsior.